Hello everybody, welcome back to Book of Kings, where we discuss topics such as history, religion, philosophy, psychology, culture, and more, and the way that they all interact with one another. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive a notification every time I release a new video. Hope you enjoy. The term caliphate may carry some notoriety with it in recent years, given its association with the Islamic State, which proclaimed itself a modern-day caliphate in 2014. However, the institution of the caliphate is one that spans the course of nearly 1,400 years and includes some of the most powerful and important empires the world has ever seen. Of the many Islamic empires which have existed throughout history, 4 are generally recognized as caliphates. Those being the Rashidun Caliphate, the Umayyad Caliphate, the Abbasid Caliphate, and the Ottoman Empire, with occasional competitors challenging them for the title. So with today's video, we will examine the history of the Caliphate, beginning with its origins following the death of the Islamic prophet Muhammad in the year 632. But before we get there, let us first discuss the origin of the term caliphate. A caliphate is a polity headed by a caliph, which naturally begs the question, what is a caliph? The term caliphate originates from the Arabic word khalifa, which translates roughly as successor. The caliph within mainstream Islam was viewed as the leader of the Muslim community, also often holding the equivalent title of Amir al-Mu'minin, or leader of the believers, often possessing both religious and political authority, and generally being recognized as the highest authority within the Muslim world. Now you may be asking, who is the caliph's successor to? The answer to that question would be the Muslim prophet Muhammad. That brings us back to the time immediately following the death of Muhammad. Following Muhammad's death, he would be succeeded by 4 caliphs, who mainstream Sunni Islam would hold to be legitimate, just rulers, terming them the rightly guided caliphs, otherwise known in Arabic as the Rashidun, hence earning the name of the first recognized caliphate in history, the Rashidun Caliphate. These 4 caliphs were Abu Bakr, Omar, Uthman, and Ali. It was during the Rashidun Caliphate that we would see the boundaries of Islam spread beyond the Arabian Peninsula, with the second caliph, Omar ibn al-Khattab, conquering the Sasanian Persian Empire and much of the Byzantine Empire, creating one of the largest empires in history. And it was during the time of the Rashidun Caliphate that we would see the first civil war in Muslim history and the origins of the schism between Sunni and Shia Islam. So while Sunni Islam holds the 4 Rashidun caliphs to be legitimate and rightly guided, the Shia hold that prior to his death, Muhammad had selected Ali to be his successor, therefore rendering all 3 caliphs prior to Ali to be usurpers. Despite being passed up on the position on 3 occasions, Ali would finally rise to the position of caliph. In not recognizing the previous caliphs, Ali's supporters would hold Ali to be the first in a long line of Shia imams, or leaders of the Muslim community. Amidst dissatisfaction with the appointment of members of his own Umayyad clan to government positions by previous Caliph Uthman, Ali would remove most governors appointed by Uthman in an effort to combat nepotism and corruption. One of the governors stripped of his position, named Muawiyah, the governor of Syria, would refuse to step down, igniting the First Islamic Civil War. While Ali was poised for an inevitable victory at the Battle of Siffin, he would ultimately agree to arbitration between the 2 sides, which would save Muawiyah from his inevitable defeat. This agreement to engage in arbitration would earn the anger of a group of initial Ali supporters who would come to be known as Harijites, who would go on to denounce Ali, claiming that he had gone against God's will by not seizing victory in a battle which he was poised to win, and vowed to fight against both Muawiyah and Ali. Ali would ultimately be assassinated by the Harijites, thus ending the civil war in Muawiyah's favor, handing the position of caliphate over to Muawiyah, bringing the Rashidun Caliphate to an end, and marking the beginning of the second caliphate in Muslim history, the Umayyad Caliphate, named after the Umayyad clan which Muawiyah belonged to. Opposition to the Umayyads would hit a high point when Muawiyah named his son Yazid as his successor in 680. During the Rashidun era, selection of the next caliph had been conducted by shura, or consultation amongst community leaders, or by a caliph selecting his successor based upon merit. With Muawiyah's selection of his own son as his successor, he had in essence turned the caliphate into a kingship, resulting in widespread rebellion throughout the caliphate. Rebellions would be carried out by those loyal to the line of Ali, led by al-Mukhtar, by the Harijites, and by a rival claimant to the title of caliph named Ibn Zubayr. It was during these rebellions that the infamous killing of the third Shia Imam, Hussein, by Yazid would occur, an event which would go on to be commemorated annually by Shias. The rebellions would be put down by a member of the Umayyad clan who was not from the line of Muawiyah, named Marwan I. Marwan would begin to consolidate the Umayyads' hold on power, a process which would be completed by his son al-Malik. All subsequent Umayyad caliphs would be descended from Marwan. Under the Umayyads, the boundaries of the caliphate would extend even further, spreading all the way to the Iberian Peninsula, modern-day Spain and Portugal, creating the largest empire the world had seen up until that point. While the Rashidun Caliphs were generally known, at least among Sunnis, for their piety and commitment to Muhammad's vision, the Umayyads are widely viewed as being corrupt rulers, more concerned with enriching themselves as a ruling elite than promoting universalist Islamic values. Contrary to the Rashidun attempt at continuing the mission begun by Muhammad of overturning the previous system of tribal loyalties which dominated pre-Islamic Arabia, and establishing a sort of meritocracy where government positions and allowances were awarded based upon the individual's level of piety as opposed to their tribal affiliation, the Umayyads are said to have defaulted back to the old tribal system, awarding positions based upon tribal alliance and affiliation. In line with the Umayyads' policy of governing based upon tribal affiliation were their policies toward non-Arab Muslims. Despite allowing religious autonomy for the subject peoples within the caliphate, namely Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians, in exchange for paying the jizya or poll tax levied on non-Muslims, the Umayyads faced the dilemma of losing this tax revenue as members of other religious communities converted to Islam. In response to this, the Umayyads would disregard the precedent of Muhammad and the Rashidun, which sought to establish equal treatment amongst Muslims regardless of tribal or ethnic background, and required those who wished to convert to Islam to formally apply for membership in an Arab tribe, where they would be under the patronage of a senior, mentor-like figure. Even following conversion, non-Arab Muslims were still required to pay the jizya tax and were prohibited from serving in government positions. Additionally, the Umayyads would implement a policy of making Arabic the official language within the caliphate. This would naturally breed dissatisfaction amongst the growing number of non-Arab Muslims, as well as Shia Muslims forcefully persecuted by the Umayyads, as well as non-Muslims, resulting in the outbreak of revolution. Revolt would break out in the Khorasan region of modern-day Iran, Afghanistan, and Central Asia, led largely by ethnic Persians and Shias, culminating in the downfall of the Umayyad dynasty and the rise to power of a new dynasty, marking the beginning of the third caliphate in Islamic history. Tune in next time for the sequel to learn more. Thank you for watching. This has been another Book of Kings video. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive a notification every time I release a new video.